Right, about 5 years ago, we made a video about picking up beer bottles with a scrap handler and a giant claw. And the company that makes that claw is actually a couple hours from us, and they invited us out because they have a Cummins powered Grapple that's the biggest, I think, in North America, that's used for shipyards and stuff. And we wanted to check that out. So I brought Vince along just to make sure that the welds are up to par, you know, that it's able to pick up more than a beer bottle.
Looking forward to seeing what they make, what their process is, and yeah.
They got a mag grapple up here on the test stand. So we assemble them on these test stands and then do the actual hydraulic testing here before they leave. Here's the tower of the 13-yard.
That's awesome. Because this is Bateman's largest grapple that they make, which is mainly used for shipyards, loading and unloading scrap, mostly loading scrap onto massive ships headed for other ports. And it's super cool because it's Cummins powered.
That's a 135 horse Cummins diesel, 4-cylinder diesel in there, turbo. They were the first company to come up with a complete industrial engine package a couple years ago, like in around 18. So that's why we went to Cummins. So we designed the whole shell, the whole body of this thing, the whole frame. And then Cummins supplies the actual power pack. And then we just install our pump on it, valve, and everything. Yeah.
This is completely self-contained unit that just gets hung off of a cable off of a massive crane, because he said these go to ports where it's some pretty old, sketchy equipment too. This is what the operator gets inside the cab, just a remote to start and stop the engine and open and close the clam, and that's it. The Cummins has its own Murphy switches, because there's no way to monitor whether it's overheating or running out of oil or whatnot. And they asked if they could get some sort of remote thing to give them that information. And at the time, they didn't. So for the last 4 years, all the information gets sent to this box, and they manually have to put the grapple on the ground and then see if everything's okay. It's not a dry sump, it's still it's a deep sump, but these things are not meant to be tipped over. And you can, if you're a bad operator, lay it down and yank it over, and it will shut off on its own because of these Murphy switches. But that's kind of annoying, so some of the guys even disable the Murphy switches so that they can tip it over. So what's really cool is they have these little, we don't know where they are, but somewhere there's a little plinko type thing that has a ball that if it tips over past 45, the ball falls into the 45 slot and stays there. So if they call up and say, hey, your piece of junk engine seized on me, well, it's because it tipped over and ran out of oil. So 45 is still okay, but if they go any farther, it'll fall into like 60 degree, 70 degree, 90 degree, and the ball will just get stuck in there, and then they hide that somewhere, and then they say, oh, yeah, well, you tipped it over, so it's kind of your own fault, right? The bottom is the fuel tank, and then the entire cage gets bolted to the fuel tank. These are the claws, and there's actually a big pin that comes up that acts as an anchor because all of it gets pulled on this. There's a lot of power going on here. The top here, right here, is the oil tank that runs the variable displacement pump, which is right here. You can see it right through here. And that's really cool because it's gravity fed, so there's never any starvation. The oil tank is right up top. It doesn't rely on the hydraulics of whatever machine is running it to power this thing. It's a variable displacement pump because as you go over relief or as you deadhead the 4,200 PSI, it'll just stop pumping oil rather than keep pumping oil and putting it over a relief valve. That keeps your oil much cooler, so it's a really neat design. That's the tooth for this machine, or the claw, and that's really cool because the top hook just hooks around the cylinder pin, and then when you lift up on it, it'll deadhead up against this block, and then you can just stick a pin in there, which makes it really easy for transporting and whatnot. So this one's ready to go out to a pier somewhere. We were expecting a large grapple today at Bateman, but we didn't think that it would be Cummins powered, which is pretty cool. 2 hydraulic filters, one before and after it does all the work. Got your sensors on there to tell you when it's time to change. This is a 15-yard and then they make a 10-yard and a bunch of smaller ones underneath that. So very, very cool. Everything made in-house, other than the Cummins.
So basically there's 2 RPM settings. This is of course just idle, but as we bring it up, when you push the button, it goes to full throttle.
Yeah.
And then there's a standby speed.
Okay.
And that has to be at about 2,000 RPM, so that if you lay it in the scrap pile and you push the button, it still has enough power that it can start.
Right,
okay?
right.
Start digging, because it starts digging right away.
Okay.
If you brought it down to idle, it would stall. The pump is a load sensing pump.
Okay.
So it actually never goes over relief. What happens is the pump slosh, okay, the slosh waves will move, allowing it to just bypass.
Okay.
So it'll run at about 4,200 PSI, and then once it reaches that, and it can't move anymore, it just de-strokes the pump.
Right.
And that's how you avoid oil overheating. And then we just go to... So that's the standby speed.
Yeah.
It's around 2,000.
Wow.
Then you hit the button. And then it speeds up.
Yeah.
To full throttle.
Which is what, 2,800?
23.
23, okay.
Pressure.
Yeah.
It has a special valve to bypass oil while it's opening. There's more oil going back to tank than it can actually handle.
Okay.
That's all it does, just opens and closes.
Yeah.
So this is our machine shop, but most of the stuff we do here is done on that Toshiba at the end. That's our CNC boring mill, and then conventional boring. We do some turning here, but I'll be honest, most of our production turning is outsourced. This jig was developed so that we can bore 2 at a time on the CNC boring mill.
Okay.
A lot of machining involved, okay, in making this plate up. It has the oil passageways going through it to go to the center core for the hydraulic swivel. These are all the bearing bolts. The bottom all has to be milled for the bearing to go onto. That's your motor drive,
Yeah.
rotation.
It looks like everything comes in nice and flat. They put it on the burning table and take out all their ingots.
That's pretty massive.
Yeah.
So once the flat plate is cut, it goes to all the different stations. Like this brake will bend it into a close shape of what the final product is. So it all gets marked. You take the flat steel and turn it into this. And then there's a jig to get it where they lay it on to make sure that you're close. Once he takes the flat stuff that's bent pretty close, it goes on another jig and it actually sandwiches it in between to get the perfect shape. You can see where it's sitting on the jig, and then there's another jig that comes on top and presses it down into the perfect shape.
Yeah, most of their welding is done here in metal core. Use 1/16 wire. Almost everything done in the flat. So put it in positioners and work from the above. It's all really nice stuff. Usually have no stop and starts until you get to a wrap. So yeah, and if it's done well enough, no grinding needed.
So this is a standard, like a grapple body, right? There's
Yep.
4x, 5x mag grapple. These are all assembled in a jig. And this was our first cell we purchased. They are put onto this rotisserie,
Okay,
okay? And then welded here all with the robot.
okay.
So that was an 8-hour per body time to weld. With this, you can do them in 4.
Wow.
We had Wolf Robotics in the USA put it together for us, and they do all the weldments for Caterpillar and John Deere. Here's a fork tine that's been welded. So that's all with 115. Continuous across. So then we'll trim these off so it's 100%. No inclusions at all. It has to be solid. Then we'll mill it. Give it the radius.
With metal core itself, you don't have to do scaling as much or anything like that. So, and it's not very spattery. The cleanup is usually just a light brush. It's never,
Oh, okay.
Doesn't really have anything more than candy on the weld.
That's pretty cool. Like you can just climb right inside of that. So this is one that would have the Cummins in it again, right?
It's like a rotator setup they have, so they can have it all rotate, keep all your welds in the flat position. And it's told you can have two guys working on either side at the same time. That way, keep heat distribution on, you know, relatively bouncing back and forth. It's not all contained on one side. Less warping and distortion going on. They got some really good welders here. You can see everything's done well, and there's no grinding on anything. So every guy's usually getting all the welds they're supposed to get.
Yeah, because the shop is really clean. Like, if you look at under any of the benches, they're not half as dirty as what my benches look like.
Nice welds, 3/8. It's I prove them. There's no undercut, no rollover. 1/16 wire, metal core.
Nice.
Nice job.
This one is for wood chips, and it's super light, which is why it's so big. But they made it slotted so you can actually see through it, because otherwise you can't see where you're going with the operator. So this is cool. Now, there's lots of companies that make buckets, but what's unique about these buckets is that this bottom piece is a giant magnet. So this will be used in like recycling plants or sorting through garbage, whatnot, incineration plants where metal doesn't burn as good as, you know, dirty diapers. So you kind of scrummage through and then you spread it out. And then you run your magnet over, pick up any of the steel, which is scrap money, put that off to the side, and then keep digging through. So that's kind of neat. I think they used to do that by hand, and just by using this bucket, they were able to get 4 times as much scrap out of the garbage than they were sorting through it with manual labor. So cut somebody's arm off.
A lot of it's for cleanup, brushwork and stuff.
Okay.
So it's a grapple you pick up, and then the saw comes down and cuts it to length.
So you guys make the rotator, the claws, and then the saws.
Basically, everything, the saw is Swedish, the motor is German, but everything else is North American. And we say the only thing we buy is the cylinders. And the valve block comes out of Quebec. The rest is all in our area. We build all the weldments, machine all the weldments here. The cylinders come out of Manitoba.
Nice.
A good company there. When we go to this, the only thing on there, Grib makes their magnets, so they own us, right? The only thing that's not North American made or Canadian made, we'll say, is the hydraulic motor.
Okay.
And it's German made too. And we're proud of that, right? That's
Yeah.
That's a lot of Canadian jobs, a lot of local jobs.
Yeah.
You know? We look at everything in like weldments, right? Like there's a weldment section, that's a weldment section. The tines will be a weldment section. So as we go through, this gets burnt, everything gets burnt off the table.
Ah.
So we have these pre-assembled, which Raymond's doing right now.
Yeah.
So once it's the body's machined, which they are in the barn stock, we know that it's going to be a 5-tine. We grab the body, put it on there, and away we go.
Nice.
And then it gets welded, painted, and to assemble.
So everything comes in flat steel.
Flat steel.
Nice.
Goes to different fitters. So this one will go straight to the guy on the robot. He fits it, gets on the robot, gets it welded. We do a lot of these ahead of the time because we only have the 3 style, right? 100, 200, 300.
Okay.
So we'll build these in stock. So they'll be fit, welded, put on, we got a jig, they go up and go on the CNC, get all machined. So then all the internal components are being built as it goes through too, right? So then we build these, they're sitting there ready to go, and these are out in our warehouse too. So when you have an order come through, we have everything here. So pins, everything's in stock. So say yes, we sold this is a 204 time. So it's sold, within a day or two, we can have it put together on the truck and go. So as soon as it comes in, this and this, we know they're going together, we put them together, they get welded. And then it goes to paint, and then the assembly crew goes at it, and the time's already done, ready to go. So then all the choice is what machines are going on, and the yoke will go.
Nice.
And we stock all those.
So this is the diesel version generator that we developed with a Yanmar industrial diesel. It's a little 3-cylinder. That one's the 88C, so that one's what, about a 60 horse, I think, eh? 50 or 60. So that'll run up to a 20 kilowatt. So over here is a 20 kilowatt all put together with the generator on the back side. These are strictly 230 volt DC magnet generators.
Okay.
Okay. So this is our shipping department. So here's the standard 4-tine grapple. I'd say that's a 3/4 yard. 4-tine getting ready to head out.
A little smaller than what B&R got?
Yeah, they had a mag grapple combination. So this is a standard 4-tine.
Oh, yeah.
4-tine is the most popular grapple here in North America.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's all the generators that we would get in from Germany. So we set them up either as hydraulic drive or diesel. Okay, so here's another smaller diesel.
Yeah.
Getting ready to go. There's a demo mag brand new. And then with all the grapples we have out there, which is now in the thousands, this is the store for all the parts.
Yeah.
So all the pins and there's all the bearings, cylinders, guards, you name it. And then back here are all the towers. We call them towers, or body frames for the grapple line. We also have a clamshell line, so there's some bodies for them. Some of the grapples are machine color coded.
Yeah.
So that's an Atlas grapple. We'll even brand it Atlas.
Oh.
Paint it Atlas colors. We do it for Fuchs as well.
Okay.
We'll paint them blue for Fuchs and brand them Fuchs. So that's it.
I see an engine in the corner. I gotta look at it.
Okay?
Yeah.
All there is a muffler pipe going out. And this is the fan.
Yeah.
So it's actually, you'd call it a fan cooled, really.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And actually there's a small oil cooler in there as well. But all there is a small suction here
Yeah.
for your fan. And then here's your air cleaner.
Yep.
So there'd be a little box here with an air cleaner in it, and there's your muffler, and the pipe goes out, and that's it, like 6 wires.
I heard that was back from the war when they were in tanks and stuff. If you blew a cylinder, you could quickly throw another one on, or just take it off and run without it.
Just take it off without, run without. And
so they can still use these engines in countries that don't have emissions laws. Yeah.
So like all of South America.
So I'm surprised Deutz even still makes them.
There's an exchange, actually. So someone gave us a block.
Okay.
And then we send it in for exchange. You can do that as well.
Okay.
So if you do have a Deutz, you can submit it for a rebuild.
Okay, because they don't make them anymore. Okay. All right, that's it for everything that's going on at Bateman. They passed your test, Vince?
They do. It's probably one of the cleanest weld shops I've been in. I'm not sure if they knew we were coming or not, but I mean.
I just think it's suspicious they knew that we were coming. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is kind of a new style of video again. But we figured we did the everything inside a combine, what's inside the scrap handler, and now what's inside making one of these. If you guys want to see more of that, definitely comment down below. And if you have a factory or you're making something cool in North America and want to show it off to see what's kind of going on, whether it's cars or tractors or combines or something cool like scrap handlers, then let us know. Shoot us an email at thebossinquiries@gmail.com, and then we'll see if we can set something up. But and if you hate the video, definitely comment that, say it's not worth your time, then we'll stop making these. So it was a fun day for us, but we're gonna head home because it's cold, and yeah, that's
2-hour hike.
Yeah, that's enough. So here we go.
And it's snowing.